Lab. Hi, I'm Shivan Sarna, and I founded a company called Chronic Condition Rescue. Because back in 2015, so many things were wrong with me. I was like, I need to go find answers. And when I find them, I promise I will tell the world and anyone who will listen to me. I've always been a health seeker. I had a yoga studio for 10 years back in the 90s. I had a yoga television program. I wrote a book called Healing SIBO. My memoir manuscript got delivered to me from my editor last night. I'm so excited. It's about health, wealth, and wisdom, and just a lot of the things that I've learned over the years that I know can help other people because I wish I had known them sooner. Fast forward to today, I have a very special relationship that I'm so blessed to have with Microbiome Labs and with their educators, including our special guest today, Alicia Galvin, who is a registered dietitian who educates practitioners all over the world about these topics. And also she educates other health coaches, dietitians, that's Petunia, and teaches so many people about so many gut conditions and more. Today, the focus is on the skin from the inside out. Now, being a TV person for so many years, I really focused on my appearance for a really long time. Not that I've don't care anymore, because I do, but it's one thing when your career kind of counted on it. And there was a lot of pressure on me to look a certain way and be aspirational. And you get emails about your eyeliner and it was intense. So when I start to hear about things that we can do, or like really systemically and organically from the inside out about your skin, not to mention I have been winning a battle against psoriasis. My sister has psoriasis, all this stuff. I really want to make sure that you have what you need to make sure that your largest organ, the skin, is taken care of in the best way possible. So we're going to learn about that today. Alicia, go ahead and take over, and I'm going to turn off my audio and my video, but I'm not stepping away. I'm going to watch and learn right alongside you. And we do have a special coupon for you from Microbiome Labs that I'll pop into the chat in a little bit. Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for those of you who are here live, and also if you're going to be listening to the recording. I find this topic to be really interesting as well. It's when we think about skin health, a lot of times we immediately go to topical products and creams and lotions and all the topical things that are done to enhance our skin health. But sometimes what's going on inside, and especially what's going on in the gut, can be missed. I think in the functional medicine world, we know that the gut is the root of so many different chronic conditions, and skin can be part of that as well. And so today we'll talk about the skin, we'll talk about the gut and the interplay of the skin and different microbial byproducts. And then we'll talk about some solutions that can be an option if you're looking to enhance your skin health. So this is just basically what I just told you as far as our objectives. Now, I want to step back and just think about the prevalence of skin disorders. Almost 2 billion people worldwide have skin diseases, and this can go into categories like acne or eczema, psoriasis, as Shivan was mentioning, or rosacea. But there's not only the physical influence of these skin conditions, but also the emotional and the psychosocial impact. If any of you have worked with teenagers, or if you yourself have struggled with eczema or psoriasis, you know that there's a bit of an emotional, concern if you have blemishes or if you have red and scaly skin in certain very visible areas. And so we can't ignore the psychosocial impact that these skin conditions can play. But there's a gut-skin link. And so that's the main takeaway today, is understanding that if you improve gut health, we work on the microbiome, we work on these different microbiome byproducts, that can also be part of the journey of trying to help manage some of these skin conditions. So just the basics of skin. It is the largest organ, and it has very key functions. It protects us from the external world. It helps in regulation our body temperature. Our sweat glands are present that help with cooling and hydration, of course, sensory reception. It's also how we make our vitamin D. So we have to get UVB rays from the sun that then go through various enzyme processes to create vitamin D. And so it also is going to reflect our internal health. So one of the things is if you have, if you yourself have struggled with skin conditions, or for, whether it be short-term, long-term, it always can go back to, or potentially go back to, whether it be an immune system dysregulation, a gut dysbiosis concern. And so we can't ignore that. It can sometimes, what's happening externally is screaming about what might be going on internally. Now there's layers of skin. We have the epidermis, which is the outer layer. And then below that, we have the dermis, which provides more of that structural support. And then we have the hypodermis, which is that very deepest layer. And that's where we have our insulation. So there's all these different layers and they have different functions. And again, that barrier protection is protecting us against toxins, water loss. It regulates moisture. So our skin is a very active organ. It's not just there sitting. It's a very active living organ, and it has its own microbiome, which we'll talk about. And so it's more than just the covering. We have to consider all these other roles that it plays. And so this gut connection is highly important. Now, when we get into the gut-skin axis, we really have to think about the immune system, because 80% of our immune system is in the gut. And so if there is an abnormality or dysbiosis, or if there are certain microbes that are throwing off the immune system and this immune regulation, if we don't have enough short-chain fatty acids, as we'll talk about, then that can then go through and exert itself, and we can manifest that through our skin. And that can show up, as I mentioned, acne, psoriasis, or eczema. A lot of these autoimmune conditions can, as we know, autoimmune conditions have a root in the immune system and in the gut, and leaky gut. And so that's true here, as we're seeing. Now, these different metabolites and neurotransmitters can influence the skin. Probiotics and prebiotics and diet then can help to restore that balance. And so if we work on our gut and our gut health, and we look at the microbiome, then that could potentially be part of the interventions that can help to support our skin health as well. So here we have, again, just more our skin microbiome, linking that skin health to immunity. It's interacting with that immune system. And so if you are working with a provider, or if you yourself are a provider and you are seeing clients or patients who have some of these conditions, then looking at probiotics and postbiotics as well, which, if you're unfamiliar with what a postbiotic is, that's essentially a byproduct or a metabolite of a probiotic. So it's not alive, it's inactive, but it's these different beneficial byproducts that our gut microbiome can create, and they can also influence our skin barrier and reduce that inflammation. So part of that postbiotic conversation are short-chain fatty acids, which some of you might have heard about butyrate. Butyrate is probably the most famous and well-known of the short-chain fatty acids that are produced from the fermentation of fiber. So when we eat fiber, a nice whole food diet, that fiber gets fermented by different bacteria, and those different bacteria will secrete different types of short-chain fatty acids. Butyrate is the one that is sort of the star of the show when it comes to skin health. It helps with reducing inflammation. It helps by boosting T regulatory cells, which is going to be part of the mechanism of helping to kind of balance out inflammation and balancing the immune system. It can help to block different cytokines, which are basically just signaling molecules that tell the immune system to either upregulate or downregulate. So we have pro-inflammatory cytokines, and then we have anti-inflammatory cytokines. And so butyrate helps with blocking those more pro-inflammatory cytokines. It can help to regulate gene expression, lowering inflammation. It has been studied in different conditions like eczema, systemic sclerosis, and different hypersensitivities. And it can strengthen skin barrier, because the skin is also an epithelium. So an epithelial layer, we talk about the gut and the gut epithelium, which is that single cell layer that separates what's going on in the inside of our gut versus our immune system. And so that epithelial layer is also true, and is that separation in the skin. So it's that barrier. And there are different tight junctions that are also present in the skin barrier, like claudin, but also it helps to increase interleukin-10, which is one of those anti-inflammatory cytokines, and so it helps with downregulating that inflammation. So butyrate is a very key element when we talk about gut health and how gut health can influence skin health. So this is a graphic that shows some of what I was just discussing. So you can see this is AD is atopic dermatitis. And so this is just a representation of what's going on in someone who has atopic dermatitis, or they have this, immune activation, and they have that, leaky gut. So if they have a gut microbiome that is more dysbiotic, and so they're not making those short chain fatty acids, they don't have enough of these commensal bacteria, or they don't have as many keystones, then that's going to drive more of this inflammation. Typically, there will also be less IgA, which is they're like soldiers. The IgA immunoglobulins, they walk around, they look and they're scanning for different pathogens or things that shouldn't be in the gut, and they will react if needed, and they will bind them up if needed. So if we don't have enough of those soldiers, then we lose some of that barrier defense. And if we don't have enough of that barrier defense, then that can lead to overactive immune systems. And as you can see, IgE, which is for many of you, if you're familiar with allergies and true allergies, environmental or food, we have more IgE production, more mast cell production, so more of this inflammatory and immune response that can happen when we don't have a proper immune balance and barrier function within our gut. It can actually manifest in the immune system, and that can then translate to skin conditions. Whereas if we have probiotics and prebiotics, so you can see here with probiotics, they can really help with that immune regulation. They can compete with different pathogens, and so can help with balancing the gut microbiome. You can have an increase in those short chain fatty acids. And then prebiotics can help to feed those probiotics and therefore help with that regulation of the immune system. We can get more of that IL-10, which is going to be very calming to the gut, very calming to the immune system, very balancing for the immune system. And so we can just sort of squelch some of the inflammation that might be happening. So this is part of how our probiotics and prebiotics can influence the gut microbiome. We'll talk about probiotics and some prebiotics specifically when we talk about some of the solutions. And so that leads us to conversing around Serene Skin, which is it's not a new product. It's just there's some slight formulations to the product that I think have enhanced its efficacy. There's some interesting ingredients and some newer research that circulate that. And then the total gut restoration, which I'm sure if you've listened to Shivan, you've heard us talk about the TGR reconditioning, reinforcing, rebuilding program that we offer through Microbiome Labs with Megaspore, Megapre, which is our prebiotic, and then Mega Mucosa. So let's talk about just the mechanisms of Serene Skin and break it down. So it is a combination of bacillus spores, so HU58 and HU36. And these spores have really some interesting properties to them in terms of helping to support gut barrier integrity. I'll show some research on that. A new ingredient in this formulation is luminato, which is actually derived from tomato and some of the carotenoids. And I'll show you a few research studies that have shown that it can be very helpful with things like wrinkles, helping with barrier repair, helping with just skin glowness and radiance. And then MK2, or our vitamin K2, MK7, which can help with collagen and vascular health and help with improving skin elasticity. And then Microbiome X is newer to the formulation. It's a non-fiber prebiotic. So this can help with that short chain fatty acid production, as I was mentioning, and it can also help with inflammation. So with the spores, we have, as I mentioned, the HU58, and then this was an M-Shine model. So essentially, this was an in vitro design that looked at how do these spores come together to help restore microbial diversity. How do they affect different inflammatory markers like these different cytokines, interleukin-6 and TNF-alpha, and how does it affect gut barrier integrity? And what they found was that when they put these spores through a simulation of the gut, replicating the conditions of a human intestinal tract, these spores helped with that gut barrier function. It reduced inflammation, and it helped to rebalance the microbiome into a healthier composition. And so it could potentially help to influence the gut microbiome and to provide those probiotics that can support the gut-skin axis. Now, Luminato is it's from Golden Tomatoes, sustainably sourced, non-GMO tomatoes from Israel. But tomatoes are very, very rich in carotenoids, phytoene and phytofluene that support skin hydration. They can help with reducing redness, and then also protect against those various environmental stressors. And so it's been studied in terms of its anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. So this was a 12-week double-blind placebo-controlled trial in women. They were kind of in their 35 to 55 age range. The dose was 10 milligrams of these carotenoids daily. And they were looking at their skin elasticity, skin firmness, brightness, wrinkles, and then overall skin health. And what they found was that through the supplementation at the end of the 12 weeks, that they had better skin elasticity, there was better firmness, they had brighter skin, fewer wrinkles, and just overall an enhancement in their skin health. And then this one was another 12-week placebo-controlled trial. And they were looking at, again, some of the skin elasticity, hydration, and wrinkle depth, and they found that there was improvements in all of those measures as well. Now, Microbiome X is it's a natural citrus extract from sweet orange and grapefruit, and so it's very rich in polyphenols. And what like I mentioned, it's a non-fiber-based prebiotic, and so it can help to also modulate the gut microbiome and enhance short-chain fatty acid production. It can help with strengthening the skin barrier, and it is sustainably sourced as well to enhance those health benefits. So this is how it works. There are these flavonoids in the citrus fruits that are then taken up by the gut microbiome, and it then goes down through two pathways of how it works. It can modulate the gut microbiome, and they can also, through activation of these different byproducts released into the gut, it can have direct effect on the colon through its antioxidant capacity, but it also can help with increasing butyrate. So there's actually two ways that it's helping. It's reducing inflammation, but it's also increasing things like butyrate and short-chain fatty acid. And butyrate is very effective at helping to modulate and educate the immune system, but it's also very effective for helping with that gut barrier integrity. And so we're through the microbiome, through this Microbiome X and these prebiotics, you're again modulating and supporting that gut barrier function, which can then help with immune function and helping to improve skin health. So these are a few research highlights on Microbiome X, the actual ingredient. And so this one was a 250 milligram dose, and they were looking at just the gut microbiome composition, short-chain fatty acid levels, and pH balance. And they found that there was an increase in these butyrate-producing microbes. There were higher short-chain fatty acid levels, and there was a reduction in different dysbiosis markers. Now, this one was interesting, as I was mentioning about the gut barrier system. So this was an in vitro model. And so they were looking at gut barrier strength, which is measured by what's called TEER, or TEER. We'll talk about what that is in a second. And then they were looking at your cytokine levels, which is just, again, your immune system, looking at how is this maybe helping to modulate the immune system and regulate it. And they found that there was an increase in TEER, which indicates a stronger gut barrier function, and that there was a reduction in inflammation. Now, what TEER is and why this is important is they basically have a layer of cells, and there's this electrical current that goes between one side of the cell membrane and then on the other side of the cell membrane. And if the cell membrane is able to resist, the higher the resistance of allowing that current to pass through, the stronger the gut barrier. So the higher the resistance, the higher the TEER, then the stronger that barrier. And so what this was showing was that increase in the TEER indicated that there was a strengthening of that barrier integrity, so strengthening the gut barrier and reducing that risk of any type of toxin or microbial byproduct to then pass through and activate the immune system. So it further enhances that gut-skin connection. Now, this was another trial on the Microbiome X. It was a 16-week trial in adults who had metabolic syndrome, and they were taking 500 milligrams of the Microbiome X. And they were looking at short chain fatty acids, gut permeability, inflammation, and then also various metabolic biomarkers. And what they found here again was that there was an increase in short chain fatty acids, specifically butyrate and propionate, which is another short chain fatty acid. But there was also improvements in their metabolic markers as well, and reduced systemic inflammation. Systemic inflammation is measured through CRP and TNF alpha. So really many different areas of improvement, from gut improvements all the way to some metabolic markers that were also improved. And I will say the K2 that is in this product can also be very helpful and supportive of different cardio metabolic conditions. So which patient demographics would you want to be thinking about this for? Or maybe you yourself, if you're struggling with skin roughness, if you have red and scaly skin, if you're struggling with wrinkles or fine lines, if you just want to improve your overall skin appearance, if the skin is being affected by environmental stressors, any type of gut skin axis related issues, sensitive skin, reactive skin types, just tending to be more reactive, maybe more of that atopic dermatitis type, or just reacting to different environmental, contact sensitivities, and then also just post-procedure recovery if you're doing microneedling or chemical pills. These are the dosing and the specs on it. So we recommend 2 capsules daily. You're going to get the Bacillus subtilis and indicus. Bacillus indicus is also a spore that will secrete carotenoids, which can be very supportive and helpful for skin health. And so that's part of why that one is in there. And then also the Bacillus coagulans and quasi, and then the MK7, vitamin K2, and then the Luminato and the Microbiome X, as I mentioned. So this is our new formulation with the addition of the 2 new Luminato and then the Microbiome X to add an additional support for that anti-inflammatory and also just gut barrier strengthening. And those are the references. So I'm happy to then go through some Q&A with you guys.
That was really good. That was, as always, really good. Thank you so much. Let's put some love into the chat for Alicia. That's so interesting about the tomatoes.
Mm-hmm. It is.
That is so cool.
And there's only a couple of studies that were presented. The ingredient itself has something like, I don't know, 10 to 15 clinical studies done on it. So it's a very well-researched ingredient. And it's quite interesting that across the board, it repeatedly shows the improvements in just glowing and less wrinkles and improved skin barrier. So I'm very excited about that ingredient in the product.
I'm also excited about the Microbiome X, the citrus bioflavonoids,
because
for people who can't tolerate fiber well and are trying to get in more of this type of nutrient, that's a very cool development too. All right.
Yes.
Listen, I wanted to thank you very, very much. I wanted to let you know that we do have 15% off for you if you are interested in this or anything else from Microbiome Labs. The info is in the chat, and that also includes the total gut restoration kit. So I just threw that in there as well. Also, it's for those of you who showed up live, and these offers do expire in case you're watching the replay. But I want to say thank you if you're watching the replay, because I really appreciate it, because I know it's hard sometimes to go back and watch something. But we do have a gift for you if you send us your proof of purchase today by 8 p.m. Eastern time, and it's a good one. And it is Dr. Sharon Still's class that's $59 usually on Give Me a Head of Hair. So I thought, just with the skin and the hair, I thought it'd be a nice little dovetail. So if you do a purchase for anything from Microbiome Labs today with our link by 8 p.m. Eastern time, then send the information to info@SIBO.SOS, your proof of purchase. Yep. Just scroll on up, Leslie. There it is as well. And I appreciate that. Okay. And then I've got some questions for you. Oh, okay. Here they are. Noreen, you've got a lot. Would SPMs, I don't know what that is, be considered short chain fatty acids that can support skin health? What's an SPM?
So I believe you're referring to specific pro-resolving mediators, which are essentially derived from fish oil. I'm assuming that's what they're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. So They wouldn't be short chain fatty acids. So postbiotics can encompass many different things. Fish oil and SPMs can be a postbiotic, so they can be considered that. They have a very anti-inflammatory nature to them. We actually have a product that includes SPMs, Mega Marine, that I love because it's also included as part of the omegas. But postbiotics in general, I just think they're a trend that are up and coming, and I think more and more people are learning more about them. So short chain fatty acids would include that. Fish oil can include that. There's different microbial outer layers like exopolysaccharides that are these sticky outer layers that can also be part of a postbiotic category. So it's just these inanimate or basically not alive byproducts or compositions of these different probiotics that they give. So, but SPMs in terms of an overall skin health regimen can be very helpful because of the anti-inflammatory nature to them. So I would say definitely consider putting that as part of your regimen.
Noreen, with all your questions, I really hope you're getting this because I can tell it's a perfect fit for you. But you have to experience it yourself. Is the product okay for people with MCAS and mold toxicity and autoimmunity? Like you already kind of touched on that during the presentation, and that was a big old yes.
Definitely autoimmune, people with MCAS or mold, since those are going to be very individualized, people can react to very different things. So I would just say in those populations, you would want to go low and slow. There's nothing in there that would necessarily activate or shouldn't, because there's not any residual, proteins in here that could activate the immune system. You're more working on the gut barrier and the inflammation and helping to balance the immune system. But again, you would have to just take that case by case and be cognizant of that, because in those situations, anyone can react to anything. So
and anybody can be allergic to anything. Anybody can react to anything. Exactly. Yeah. Go ahead and everybody put your questions into the Q&A box if you don't mind, Mary and L Fastbender, if you don't mind. It just really helps me because I don't have anybody feeding these to me, so I have to do them myself. So it just helps me focus. Can ghee be a good food to increase butyrate of short chain fatty acids?
It can. It has been used for that. Yeah. I mean, you're more beneficially, you're going to get more benefit from the short chain fatty acids if you encourage the endogenous production. So, because when we orally consume things like butyrate, they should be utilized, or they can be absorbed earlier up in the small intestine, and which we need them in the colon. So if they're absorbed, in the small intestine, sometimes you don't quite get all the benefits, but doesn't mean you can't do ghee. You certainly can, but you also want to think about helping to modulate the microbiome in ways that will encourage the natural endogenous production of butyrate. You're going to get a much better, more significant improvement or effect from that. But you can certainly use ghee as well.
Is there lycopene in the Serene Skin product? My sister's name is Serene, so I'm like, Serene Skin? What's happening?
Oh, that's a beautiful name to have.
Serene. Yeah.
Is there lycopene? I don't believe so. It's some of the other carotenoids that are in there, but yeah.
Okay. You guys,
the ones that are studied.
FedEx might be coming into my driveway in 2 seconds, and I've missed something from them already. So you may see me run, in which case I'll be right back. Okay. What about lupus butterfly rash on the face?
Again, we haven't studied this in, lupus for butterfly rash, so we couldn't say, but I would say as part of the immune activation, the autoimmunity component to that, and just the inflammation, certainly could consider that potentially. It's just, and it's part of your other protocols or therapies to try to modulate that, it could be used.
When taking statins, anything with grapefruit is to be considered off limits. Good question. How does this grapefruit in this product impact statins? Great question, Pam. Everybody's got
that. Yeah. What I would say is you would always want to work in coordinate care with your doctors on that. There is some concern, and I would just proceed with caution with anything that has any type of grapefruit extract in it. If you're taking a medication that has a grapefruit interaction, track your levels, be monitored by your doctor. If you choose to take the product, just make sure that you're being closely monitored so that if things need to be adjusted, they can be. So just keep that in mind because yes, there could be a potential interaction with the grapefruit and some of these medications.
Okay. Can corticosteroids, how do you say that word?
Oh, corticosteroids.
Yeah, that's the one. Taken for skin conditions affect the gut and teeth microbiome, causing cavities.
Yeah, corticosteroids can definitely influence the gut microbiome. Yeah.
And therefore it could impact the oral microbiome because the gut and the oral microbiome are connected. Really interesting. Okay, I've used Microbiome Labs products in the past, and I have a hard time tolerating the pre and IgG. Is this new product similar in ingredients? Also, I'm super curious as to how much you were taking. Like, did you titrate up? Was it a lot? That kind of thing.
Yeah, I would say to your point, Shivan, with both of those products, we generally recommend a titration because of just the shifting that can happen. So I would say first question would be, did you start at full dose versus did you do the titration schedule? I would say with Mega Pre, some people need to go even slower than what's recommended on the label. So I sometimes will have people do what I call microdosing with the pills, and I'll just have them open up a capsule, start with a quarter to a half cap, and put it in like a big 32-ounce water bottle and just sip on it throughout the day. So you're getting these really over the course of a few hours, you're getting small dosages. And sometimes just by nature of starting really low and slow, and then you're supporting the keystones, you're supporting the commensals, you're helping to shift and feed and fuel your good bacteria, but you're not doing it in a way that's just like, throwing everything at it and causing everybody to get upset. So you could try doing that. But this could be a non-fiber option to where you're getting probiotics and you're getting prebiotics, but in a non-fiber way. If, for example, if you have SIBO and you can't tolerate a prebiotic fiber that's, a fiber based, then this could be another alternate option that would give you that prebiotic, but it would not be a fiber based prebiotic.
And that is so valuable for so many people who cannot take fiber products. And I think, what do you think about this? There's so many people that I hear like, oh, I'm going to be on the elemental diet, but what about my fiber? I think there was this really big educational push in the advertising and media about like fiber being the end all be all. And I think that there's some fallacy there, like not necessarily. I think it's good for you as my own, but think about it. It's not just for scrubbing the inside of the intestines. It's also food for your microbiome, et cetera. But I hear a lot of SIBO patients talk about how, oh, I don't want to give up my fiber, but it gives me symptoms. And so to have an alternative like this is really, really important, I think. And I'm super excited about it.
Yeah. And I think fiber, and what's interesting, not all fibers are prebiotics and not all prebiotics are fibers. So I think diversity of the types of prebiotics that you're consuming is going to benefit you because you're going to diversify the types of microbes that are there, because all microbes will feed on different things, and different fibers and prebiotics will feed different things. So just the more diverse of an ecosystem you have in your gut, the healthier you're going to be. So I would say in those cases, if you can't tolerate a fiber, hopefully you're working with a provider, or if you are a provider, you're working with your patients to get to that root cause of, well, why can't they tolerate fiber? There should be,
exactly.
There's a reason for that. But this could be a option until you're able to tolerate more types of foods.
It'd be super, super cool. Okay. Also, is it out of stock, Alicia? Somebody's saying
no. It's actually new formulations launching like today.
Oh, it's not launching
like this week. Like it should not be out of stock. It should be just
loading in.
So you may want to check back, a little bit later this week, but it should be out. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I need to extend my 8 p.m. deadline.
Yes. So yeah, sorry. Yeah, maybe extend a couple days. So
okay. So why don't we do Friday night at 8? Do you think it'll be safe then?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So Friday night at 8 it is. If you all okay, and if you're on the replay and you're watching this, then you can do it too. Sure. Okay. I'm not trying, I'm wanting to be very generous. So if you purchase anything from Microbiome Labs with our link by this Friday night, Eastern time, 8 p.m., which is the 18th of April, 2025. And then send us your proof of purchase to info@sibosos.com. We will get you Dr. Sharon Still's phenomenal Give Me a Head of Hair masterclass that people buy every month for $59. It's a 1 hour presentation followed by 2 hours of Q&A. That was fantastic. She's one of my favorite people and naturopaths, and she did a really, really great job on teaching this class. And it's all about root causes for hair. I'll just say scenarios. So that is, I think, a particularly juicy masterclass that I'm offering as a gift with purchase. So there you go. Today was short and sweet, but we covered it. And so I won't keep anybody here any longer. I think we covered a lot. I think this is really straightforward. There are so many connections between your immune system and your gut and the skin. And I love the new formulation. I love the new additions. I can see why you're excited about it. And I hope that you all experience it. And what you were saying, like titrate it, start slowly and build up. Because especially if you're super sensitive. And I think I'm really looking forward to seeing how it works and the results. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Today was short and sweet, but we'll see you next time for our next session with Microbiome Labs and all of the other great folks that I'm able to be thrilled bringing to you with special discounts. Yeah, as Krista is saying, yeah, out of stock. Bummer. Okay, I want to buy it when it will be back. It hasn't even arrived yet. It's that new.
Yeah.
So definitely hold on.
This is like the first thing we've done.
Like we're basically launching.
You're like breaking ground here.
Thank you, as usual. We are launching the reformulation of this product right here, right now. So thank you very, very much, Alicia, for doing this for us. And it was a lot of behind the scenes changes that had to go to make this happen. But we also didn't want to wait, like the schedule worked for today. And so we didn't want to wait until it had already launched, but I did think it would be available right now, but it'll be there when you click the link, probably, you think in the next 24 hours?
Yeah. And I can actually, yes, like I said, it'll be this week for sure.
Okay. When it is available, can you let me know? And then maybe we can shoot out a quick email to everybody.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. I can check right after this webinar, actually.
Okay. All right, great. And then the other thing is, don't forget about Megaspore and the Total Gut Restoration,
right?
And all the other great products there. So also the vaginal microbiome product that is so good that studies showed, can really change it within a few days for improvement. And I was wondering about this while I have you. There's a pregnancy one. And I bought that by accident. Can that still work if you're menopausal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because the core of what you want is the Astarte, the 4-lactobacillus one, and that's in both of them. So you're still going to get benefits, even if you're post. You'll just get a little extra LGG.
Okay, good. Okay. Yeah, Krista, reach out to them. They'll hook you up. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Catch you next time.
Thanks, y'all. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Great job. Great job. Oh, you know what, Noreen? Go check out their vitamin K and their vitamin D because they have great ones at Microbiome Labs. So good questions. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. Okay. Bye. Mwah.